They said the moon chose once in every age, not a king, not a warrior, not even a wolf of noble blood, but a heart. Fragile, unyielding, destined to be torn apart before it could mend the world. On the night the forest burned and the skies split crimson, a child was born marked by silence, her wolf hidden, her name whispered like a curse. Orla. And somewhere beyond the ashes, a boy grew into a king who carried shadows in his veins and fire in his breath. Their paths were written long before they ever touched hands. Fate would bind them. Love would break them. And only blood could decide if the kingdom rose or fell. Chapter 1. Her hands burned. Soap stung her cracked skin, and icy water bit into her bones. Orla's rag dragged across the stone floor until it gleamed, though no one would notice. They never did. What followed was laughter, sharp, cruel, echoing down the corridor. Look at her eyes. Silver, like ash after fire. A curse, always was. Orla lowered her head. If she didn't meet their stares, maybe they'd tire of the game. Still, the words slid beneath her skin like knives. She scrubbed harder. The bristles tore her knuckles raw. Blood swirled into the suds. She told herself the same lie she always whispered. Fade, Orla. Be invisible. If you vanish, they can't break you. Yet children peered from the shadows, whispering. The cursed one. Stay away, or you'll rot. Their little fingers pointed, their voices trembling between fear and fascination. Her chest ached, but then, a sound split the air. A horn, long and deep. It rolled over the pack grounds like thunder. Heads snapped up, servants scattered. Nobles rushed toward the square. Excitement rippled through the halls, and even the cruelest tongues went silent. The Alpha King was coming. Orla froze, rag dripping in her hand. She wasn't supposed to see him. She wasn't supposed to see anything at all. And yet, her pulse raced. She didn't know what scared her more, the thought of being noticed, or the thought of staying unseen forever. And just like that, everything changed. The courtyard roared with drums. Orla pressed against the pillar's shadow, dirt clinging to her torn dress. And then, he came. Kaelen. His entourage swept in like a storm. Cloaks whipped, steel glinted, wolves in armor stalked at his side. But it was him, his presence. The air bent around him as if even the wind bowed. Orla's breath caught. He was broad-shouldered, dark-haired, eyes like ember fire. His face was carved in stone, merciless, unreadable, the kind of man who didn't just command power, he was power. She ducked her head lower, heart hammering. Maybe he wouldn't see. Maybe. But then his nostrils flared. His stride faltered. A shadow crossed his brow. Wait, he murmured. His men paused. With his scent in the air, her world tilted. Lavender, rain, moonlight. That's what he smelled, though he couldn't place it. A flicker of something ancient and familiar brushed him, then vanished like smoke in the wind. Kaelen's jaw tightened. He turned his head sharply, eyes scanning the crowd, the pillars, the servants huddled in corners. Orla pressed her back harder against the cold stone, praying to disappear. Moments later, he moved on. But the unease lingered. Because of that single pause, whispers rippled through the pack. The king had scented something, and Orla's chest throbbed with a strange, unnameable dread. The kitchen smelled of roasted boar, sweet meat, and spiced bread. But Orla only tasted bile. She carried trays between tables, her head bent. Yet her ears caught every poisoned word. She'll ruin the ceremony if she shows her face. She shouldn't even be allowed near it. A blemish on the moon goddess's gift. Her steps faltered. She nearly dropped the tray. Deep down, she knew the truth. She believed them. She was a blemish. Born wrong, tainted, worthless. And still, a part of her ached. What if I wasn't? What if... No matter how hard she tried, hope wormed through her despair. The drums began again, slow, heavy. The choosing ceremony. Orla's hands shook, platters rattled. The air thickened with incense and expectation. The moon climbed, spilling silver light through the high windows. As the silence roared, she lifted her eyes. The moon was full, huge, swollen, glowing. It stared down like an unblinking eye, as if it saw her, as if it waited. Her soul answered, though she didn't understand why. And the beat of the drums grew louder, pulling her toward the night that would unravel everything. Chapter 2. The courtyard glowed beneath the swollen moon. Torches burned high, casting gold against stone. Nobles paraded in silks, jeweled throats bared for the Alpha King's gaze. And yet, he ignored them. Kaelen's eyes swept the gathering once, his face carved from ice. The air thrummed with expectation, but the king's focus was elsewhere. Something tugged at him, invisible yet unrelenting. Meanwhile, Orla knelt on the edge of the square, scrubbing ash from the steps as if her hands could erase her own existence. Her rags clung damp to her skin. Her silver eyes stayed on the ground. Don't look up. Don't breathe too loud. Fade. But then, his scent hit her. Smoke and steel and something feral, dangerous. And her body moved on instinct. Her gaze lifted. The moment their eyes locked, the world stopped. Kaelen's breath stilled. That scent, lavender, rain, moonlight, struck him again, stronger now, flooding his chest like fire and frost combined. Before either could speak, his voice rang across the square. Her! Gasps, shrieks, a goblet shattered on the stone. Orla froze, the rag slipping from her hand. No! The word barely formed on her lips. Kaelen strode forward, every step a decree. His soldiers parted the crowd like a tide. He didn't hesitate, didn't falter. He stopped in front of the servant girl, the one no one saw, and the moonlight blazed silver around her as if to crown her. What's worse? Valeriana hissed from the crowd. He's mad. That thing? But Kaelen ignored her. His hand rose. His mark burned crimson, a wolf's sigil alive with fire. The air thickened. Orla trembled. No, please. Her voice cracked. Not me. Truth be told, he didn't understand it either, but the bond pulsed. It demanded. And just like that, everything changed. His palm pressed to her skin, the king's mark seared against her collarbone. She cried out, half scream, half gasp. The fire licked her veins, silver roots racing beneath her flesh, and the crowd roared in outrage. Chaos exploded. Nobles shouted, wolves growled, some spat curses. She'll doom us all! Blasphemy! Accursed mate! Orla's knees buckled, her vision blurred. She wanted to vanish, to beg the earth to swallow her whole. But then Kaelen's cloak swept around her shoulders, heavy, fur-lined, impossibly warm. He lifted her as if she weighed nothing. Gasps rippled. The Alpha King, untouchable, merciless, cradled a servant girl like a queen. Orla trembled in his arms, eyes wide. Why me? His jaw tightened. Because fate chose. His tone was iron, but his grip was careful, protective in a way that confused even him. To make things worse, Valeriana stepped forward, her jeweled gown glinting. This is madness. She's a nobody. She can't rule beside you. Kaelen's gaze burned through her. My word is law. And the silence that followed was absolute. Still, Orla's humiliation clung. Her bare feet dangled, her hair tangled, her body small against his broad chest. The weight of every sneer, every hiss, every glare cut deeper than claws. As the crowd parted, she looked back one last time. The pack she'd scrubbed floors for, the pack that spat on her name, stared with horror, envy, hatred. Her heart skipped. She had wanted to disappear all her life, and yet, there she was, the center of everything. The war camp stank of iron and smoke. Banners flapped, black wolves stitched in crimson thread. Soldiers stared openly as Kaelen carried Orla into the ring of tents. Their whispers hissed like snakes. Not fit. She'll break him. Cursed. Her breath caught. The fur cloak weighed her down, but shame weighed heavier. He set her down at last inside his tent, its walls draped with wolf pelts and weapons gleaming in firelight. The silence stretched. Orla clutched the cloak tighter, avoiding his gaze. I don't understand. Kaelen stood tall, arms folded. His expression was unreadable, yet his eyes lingered on her as though trying to solve a riddle. You are mine now, he said simply. No one will touch you. Her chest ached. But I'm nothing. His head tilted, a muscle ticking in his jaw. You think the moon makes mistakes? She swallowed hard, throat dry. Deep down, she knew the truth. Whatever had bound them tonight, it was bigger than both of them. Outside, the horns blew. Carriages prepared for the road to the Ashen Palace. Kaelen turned, his voice final. Your old life is dead. Come dawn, you'll enter a new world. And as the fire cast shadows against the canvas, Orla understood. There was no going back. No. Chapter 3. Stone towers loomed like fangs against the sky. The Ashen Palace rose from black cliffs, its walls carved with runes that pulsed faintly beneath the moonlight. Orla clutched the fur cloak tighter as the carriages rattled through iron gates. Her heart hammered, her throat dry. Every crack of the wheels sounded like a death toll. Inside, torchlight flared. Servants lined the entry hall, bowing low as Kaelen strode past. But their eyes flicked to her, sharp with mockery. Soon after, women in silken gowns swept forward. Their fingers were cold and jeweled as they plucked the rags from Orla's body, clucking their tongues. Stand straighter. She reeks of ash. Try not to trip, little mouse. Her breath caught as golden fabric cascaded over her shoulders. The gown shimmered like captured moonlight. Beautiful, alien. The corset pinched her ribs until she could barely breathe. One maid leaned close, whispering, You'll embarrass yourself before the court. Heat burned her cheeks, but she said nothing. No matter how hard she tried, she could not hide the tremor in her hands. And just like that, a trumpet blared. The doors to the great hall opened. Her world tilted. She was being led into fire. The great hall burned with light. Chandeliers glittered. Tables overflowed with venison, grapes, and wine. Laughter cut like knives. At the far end sat Kaelen, his throne carved from obsidian, his gaze dark and unreadable. To his right, the seat for his queen, empty until Orla stumbled forward, every eye upon her. Valeriana reclined 2 seats down, her smile sharp as a blade. Our king has curious taste, she said, voice carrying. From scrubber to sovereign. Tell me, Orla, do you polish floors better than you hold a goblet? Laughter erupted. Orla's fingers tightened around the cup before her. She kept her eyes down. Survive. Don't break. Kaelen said nothing. He drank, his gaze flicking once to her, but offering no defense. Her chest ached. Alone. Always alone. Meanwhile, whispers spread like wildfire. She'll curse the harvest. She won't last a week. She'll be dead by the next moon. Her name hung in the air like a curse. What followed was worse. The music swelled, dancers spun, and Orla remained frozen in her seat, trapped beneath 100 stares. Eventually, Kaelen rose. His chair scraped the stone like thunder. Enough. With me. His command silenced the room. He extended his hand, and though her pulse raced, she obeyed. The chamber doors slammed shut, muffling the feast. Here, firelight painted Kaelen's face in harsh shadows. Orla stood stiffly, the golden gown heavy on her thin frame. His voice was low, sharp. You know why you're here. She swallowed. No, I don't. You're the moon's chosen, he snapped. The prophecy spoke of silver eyes, power to heal the blight. You were meant to end the rot devouring the land. Her breath caught. I have no power, I can't. His fist struck the table. Lies! She flinched. The goblet tipped, spilling red wine like blood across the wood. Her voice trembled. I don't know what you want from me. I'm no queen. I'm no savior. I'm nothing. Kaelen's jaw clenched. His stare cut through her. If you're nothing, then fate has betrayed us all. Between them, something cracked. The silence roared. Her chest ached as if the mark itself tightened around her throat. And as the fire flickered lower, Orla wondered if being chosen was not salvation, but a curse. That night, she dreamed. Silver roots twisted through her veins, glowing, spreading, binding her to a destiny she could not escape. Chapter 4. The palace gardens were a labyrinth of thorns and silver-barked trees. By day, they seemed lifeless. By moonlight, the blossoms glowed faintly, petals shivering as if whispering secrets. Orla wandered under guard, the gown traded for a cloak of muted gray. Each step crunched gravel, her breath frosting in the cold air. She paused at a rosebush where flowers bloomed black as coal. The scent was sharp, metallic. Wrong. Beautiful, aren't they? Valeriana's voice slid through the shadows. She emerged in scarlet silk, a smile that did not touch her eyes. Orla stiffened. These roses drink from the poisoned soil, Valeriana said softly. The more they feed, the darker they grow. She plucked one, pricked her finger, and let a drop of blood bead. Even poison can bloom if nurtured well. Do you understand? Orla's throat tightened. You mean me? Valeriana leaned close, her perfume cloying. If you think the king's crown will shield you, you're mistaken. Wolves remember their own. You're prey in our den. Her smile widened as she pressed the thorned rose into Orla's trembling palm. Be careful not to bleed too much. When Valeriana vanished into the mist, Orla dropped the rose. But her hand still stung, blood seeping where the thorn had pierced her. The wound pulsed with faint silver light. Her breath hitched. Something inside her stirred. The next morning, Orla was thrust into the solar, a circular chamber where scrolls, maps, and relics crowded the shelves. Advisors circled Kaelen like vultures. An elder wolf pointed at parchment. The blight spreads north, fields rot, livestock die. Our people demand answers. Kaelen's voice was steady, but his jaw tight. We hold the border. No farmer will starve while I reign. Whispers rippled, doubt lurking behind every word, and then, every gaze slid to Orla. She was marked, a noble muttered. The prophecy, another said. Let her prove it. Kaelen's stare burned into her. Show them. Her heart slammed against her ribs. I told you I can't. The silence turned heavy. The nobles scoffed, dismissive. One slammed his fist. Then she is no queen, only a burden. Shame clawed at her skin. The memory of the glowing thorn wound throbbed in her hand. Was it power or madness? She whispered, almost to herself. What if I fail? Kaelen's expression flickered, anger, then restraint, then something unreadable. He dismissed the court with a snarl, and one by one they slithered away. When they were alone, he leaned close, his voice harsh but low. If you falter again, they'll tear you apart. And He stopped, breath catching. I cannot always protect you. His words lingered, not cruelty, warning. And for the first time, she wondered if the fire in his eyes masked fear. That night, Orla slipped into the old library, its shelves towering like cliffs, dust motes swirling in candlelight. Her fingers brushed the bindings of forgotten tomes until one pulsed faintly beneath her touch. She pulled it free. An alchemical grimoire etched with lunar runes. The words shimmered as she whispered them, the air humming. Her bloodied palm flared silver. Roots of light twined up her wrist, weaving patterns like living script. Her breath hitched as the throbbing power surged, wild, aching, beautiful. And then, pain. The energy seared, threatening to consume her. She gasped, clutching her arm, stumbling against the table. Orla! She spun. Kaelen stood in the doorway, his silhouette carved by torchlight, his expression shadowed. His gaze locked on her glowing veins. Shock, recognition. Her chest heaved. I didn't mean to. He crossed the space in 2 strides, his hand gripping hers, feeling the burning mark. For a heartbeat, the silver light spilled into him, colliding with the fire that licked beneath his skin. Red and white sparks flared where their hands met. His breath shuddered. Moon's curse. The sparks died, leaving them trembling. Too close, the air thick with unspoken danger. Slowly he released her hand. His voice was low, rough. Whatever you are, it is more than prophecy. But power cuts both ways. Learn to wield it, or it will destroy us both. The words hung between them, heavy as fate. And for the first time, Orla no longer felt powerless. She felt terrifyingly alive. Chapter 5. The courtyard rang with steel and snarls. Warriors clashed under dawn's crimson light, their bodies slick with sweat, their roars echoing against stone. Orla stood at the edge, cloak drawn tight, feeling their stares dig into her back. She didn't belong here, but Kaelen had ordered her presence. Again! He barked at the fighters, his own blade flashing as he cut down 2 challengers with effortless grace. His wolf burned just beneath the surface, hunger in every movement. When his gaze snapped to her, her heart lurched. You, he growled. Come forward. The murmurs surged. An Omega? On the training grounds? Madness. He tossed her a wooden staff. She barely caught it, the weight jarring her wrists. I'm not... Fight! He cut in, stepping close, circling her like prey. Your enemy won't wait for excuses. Her pulse hammered. She raised the staff, clumsy. He struck, testing her guard. The force rattled her bones. Again and again, each blow driving her backward. You think your power will save you? His voice was harsh, but his eyes, those stormfire eyes, searched her. Raw magic without strength is a leash. Learn to stand, Orla, or fall when they come for you. Something inside her snapped. She swung wildly, sparks flaring at her fingertips as the staff cracked against his blade, sending a burst of silver light into the air. The courtyard fell silent. Warriors stared. Kaelen lowered his blade slowly, chest heaving, lips curling into something fierce. Not mockery, something closer to awe. Better, he murmured. And for the first time, she stood not as prey, but as a wolf among wolves. That night, shadows curled in the palace halls. Orla moved quietly, drawn by a voice, soft, coaxing, familiar. The court seer, a frail woman with clouded eyes, sat hunched among candles. Silver child, she rasped, her fingers tracing strange sigils in the air. The land listens when you bleed. The trees drink your sorrow. You are the heart of the moon. Orla's throat tightened. What does it mean? The seer's blind gaze shifted toward her. It means power, and power draws teeth. Beware the woman in red, for she sows rot with every step. Before Orla could press further, the candles guttered out. The seer was gone. Only cold air remained. Fear twisted through her chest. Valeriana. Always Valeriana. Kaelen's chambers glowed with firelight, shadows flickering across carved stone. He stood by the window, cloak discarded, shoulders taut beneath the weight of command. When Orla entered, silence stretched between them, sharp as a blade. You're reckless, he said finally, voice low. But I've seen worse forged into steel. Her lips parted. Why me? Out of all the she-wolves, you chose me. Why? His jaw tightened. For a heartbeat, he looked almost vulnerable. Because I had no choice. The words cut deep. Her chest ached with something she couldn't name. She stepped closer, the fire painting her silver eyes. Then tell me this, Kaelen. When you look at me, do you see fate? Or me? He froze. The air thickened, heavy with the scent of his wolf. the pull of the bond between them. His hand twitched, as if to reach for her, but he didn't. Instead, he turned sharply, voice hoarse. "Leave, before I forget restraint." Her breath trembled as she obeyed, but her heart thundered with the dangerous truth. Restraint was breaking. While Orla wrestled with fire and fear, Valeriana wove her next snare. In the grand ballroom, beneath chandeliers dripping with crystal, she whispered poison into the ears of nobles. "Did you see how the king touches her hand?" she murmured, voice sweet as honey. "As if bewitched. Omegas are cunning, born to serve, not rule. She has ensnared him, and now she seeks the throne. If the kingdom rots, will you still bow to a gutter-born queen?" Her lies spread like rot through the court, each noble vein carrying her venom. And when the council gathered again, their eyes glittered with suspicion, not just of Orla, of Kaelen himself. Chapter 6. The council chamber was colder than any battlefield. Stone pillars loomed, carved with wolves mid-hunt, their shadows stretching long across the floor. Orla stood at Kaelen's side, her palms slick, every noble eye cutting into her like a blade. "Your Majesty," sneered Lord Renar, a silver-bearded elder. "The whispers are no longer whispers. The girl is no mate. She is a sorceress. She bends you to her will." A murmur surged. Sorceress. The word burned through the air like oil to flame. Kaelen's wolf bristled beneath his skin. His growl silenced half the room. "Careful, old man." But Valeriana stepped forward, robes of blood-red silk sweeping the marble floor. She bowed low, but her smile was sharp. "We do not seek insult, my king, only truth. Let her prove she is no danger. Let her bleed upon the circle." A ritual. A test meant to expose liars, witches, threats. Orla's stomach dropped. Every instinct screamed to run, but Kaelen's hand brushed hers, grounding her. His eyes locked on hers, stormy with rage. "Don't be afraid." But she was, terrified. Torches flickered around the ritual circle etched into the floor, runes carved deep and blackened with old blood. The court gathered, hungry for spectacle. Orla stepped barefoot onto the stone, her breath fogged in the cold air, her pulse hammering. The priestess raised her blade. "One cut. The circle will reveal her truth." Steel bit her palm. Her blood dripped onto the runes, silver, not red. Gasps shattered the silence. Silver fire blazed across the circle, flaring too bright, too wild. The runes cracked under the force, torches guttered out, and a wind roared through the chamber. Orla cried out, falling to her knees. Power surged through her veins, out of her control. She felt the heartbeat of the earth, the pull of the moon, violent, endless, alive. When the light died, she lay trembling, smoke rising from the shattered circle. The court erupted. "Witch! Abomination! She'll doom us all!" Kaelen lifted her in his arms, fury blazing. "Enough! One more word, and I'll spill your blood instead of hers." But even as he carried her out, Orla saw it in their eyes. Fear. Deep and festering. Later, in the quiet of his chambers, Kaelen laid her down, his hands shaking as he bound her bleeding palm. "You should have told me," he said, voice raw. Her throat ached. "Told you what? That I bleed wrong? That something inside me is breaking free?" His head bowed, jaw clenched. "I could have shielded you. Instead..." He stopped, staring at her with a hunger she'd felt building for nights. "Instead, I let them turn you into prey." Her breath stuttered. She reached for him, fingers brushing his wrist. "And what do you see now? Prey?" His restraint cracked. His mouth crashed against hers, desperate, devouring. His wolf surged, and for once he didn't hold back. The kiss was fire and fury, the bond between them burning hot, undeniable. But when he tore away, his eyes glowed feral. "You don't know what you're asking. If I take you, Orla, there is no turning back. You'll be mine, and they'll hate you more for it." Her heart pounded. "Then let them hate me." But they were not alone. From the shadows, Valeriana watched, her lips curved in triumph as she slipped away. By dawn, her trap was sprung. Messengers carried her whispers like wildfire. The king lies with the silver witch. She ensnares him. She will wear the crown. And when the horn sounded that morning, it was not for celebration. It was the alarm of betrayal. Steel clashing in the courtyard, soldiers shouting. The enemy was no longer at the gates. It was within. Chapter 7. The horn split the morning like a scream. Orla bolted upright, Kaelen already gone from her side. The air reeked of smoke and steel. By the time she reached the balcony, the courtyard below was a sea of blades. Soldiers clashed, banners torn, wolves mid-shift tearing into each other. Valeriana stood at the gates, her crimson cloak billowing, her voice carrying like venom. "See how he weakens us? The king has betrayed the pack for his witch." The crowd roared. Some charged the palace, others hesitated, torn between fear and loyalty. Kaelen's wolf exploded through the doors, dark fur bristling, eyes burning with murder. He leapt into the fray, scattering traitors like ash. Orla's chest ached as she watched. If he fell, the kingdom fell with him. And just like that, she realized, she could no longer hide. Racing down the stairwell, her bare feet slapping stone, Orla ignored the guards who tried to pull her back. She burst into the courtyard, the chaos swallowing her whole. Blades flashed too close, and without warning, her wolf surged. The ground trembled. Silver roots split the earth, snaring traitors' ankles, dragging them down. The air shimmered with moonlight, her veins burning with it. Kaelen turned mid-battle, his jaws dripping blood, his stare locking on her. She thought he would rage at her for exposing herself. But instead, his lips curved into something savage, reverent. "Fight with me, little moon." Together, they tore through the courtyard, king and cursed queen, their bond blazing hotter than fire. By the time the sun reached its height, the courtyard was slick with blood. The rebellion had been crushed, or so Orla thought. But then, the inner gates slammed open. A figure stepped through, armored in black iron, a traitor Orla never expected. General Mailer, commander of Kaelen's armies. Her heart dropped. The enemy was his own right hand. "Your reign ends today," Mailer sneered. "The prophecy isn't salvation. It's ruin. I'll burn her power from the throne." Kaelen's growl shook the stones. But Orla saw it. The fracture of betrayal cut deeper than any blade. The battle with Mailer was brutal, savage. Steel against claw, betrayal against bond. Kaelen fought like a storm, but Mailer was prepared. Silver-lined blades tore fur and flesh. Wolves loyal to Mailer poured in from hidden tunnels, overwhelming the guards. Orla felt the tide turning. The palace would fall. Unless... She dropped to her knees, pressing her bloodied palm to the stones. Silver roots exploded upward, forming walls, spears, shields. The moon answered her call with terrifying force. But the price was agony. Blood poured from her nose, her vision blurred. She was burning herself alive to save them. Kaelen roared her name, tearing through Mailer's line to reach her. His arms caught her just as she sagged, her voice a whisper against his ear. "Don't let them take it from you. Not while I still breathe." Her body trembled, her power searing through him as if binding their souls tighter than before. And when her eyes fluttered shut, the battlefield stilled. Every wolf froze, watching their silver-marked queen collapse in her king's arms. Chapter 8. Kaelen carried Orla through the wreckage of the throne room, his arms locked around her fragile frame. Her skin glowed faintly silver, veins of moonlight pulsing weakly beneath the surface. Each pulse dimmed more than the last. He laid her down on the shattered dais, his hands shaking as he pressed against her woundless chest. "Stay with me," he growled, his voice cracking for the first time in years. "Damn you, little moon, stay." Her lashes fluttered, her lips parted. "Kaelen." It was barely a whisper, but it gutted him deeper than any blade. Desperation clawed at his throat. He could feel the bond between them flickering, like a thread fraying in fire. He bent close, pressing his forehead to hers, his breath ragged. "Take my strength. Take everything. You're mine. You hear me? You don't get to leave." The mark on his chest burned, answering hers. The tether between them writhed with heat, demanding blood, demanding choice. Orla's voice trembled, fading. "If I take it all, you'll die." Kaelen bared his teeth, a king's fury breaking into a man's plea. "Then let me die with you." Without thinking, he drew his own blade and dragged it across his palm. Blood spilled hot and dark, dripping onto her lips. "Drink." Her eyes widened faintly, horror and love warring inside her. "Drink, Orla." His roar shook the hall. "Because without you, I'm already dead." Her wolf stirred, her lips parted, and with a shudder, she obeyed. The moment her tongue touched his blood, the bond ignited. Silver light and crimson flames surged together, wrapping them in a cocoon of heat and shadows. Kaelen gasped as power ripped through him, hers and his entwining until there was no difference. His heart slammed in his chest, then synced to hers. For a breathless moment, silence. Then Orla's chest heaved. Her eyes snapped open, molten gold and silver swirling. She inhaled like a drowning woman breaching the surface. Kaelen collapsed to his knees beside her, clutching her face with bloodied hands. Relief broke him open. "You're alive." Her lips trembled into a weak smile. "Because of you." He kissed her then, not gently, not carefully, but with the desperation of a man who had clawed through death to hold her again. Her fingers clung to him, her tears mixing with his blood. Between one heartbeat and the next, the palace was forgotten. The war was forgotten, there was only them. Later, when the moon climbed high and the fires burned low, Kaelen sat with her cradled in his lap. "You changed everything," he murmured against her hair. "I thought the prophecy would break me. Instead, it gave me you." Her hand rested over his heart, feeling its steady beat. "I thought I was cursed, but maybe I was just waiting for you." He tilted her chin, his eyes fierce even in tenderness. "No more waiting. You are my queen, my mate, my salvation." Her chest ached at the truth of it. She had been nothing, now she was everything. The bond pulsed, alive and unbreakable, and just like that, everything changed. Blog. As dawn painted the ruins in gold, the kingdom knelt. Not because of Kaelen alone, not because of prophecy, but because a cursed servant girl had bled herself into a queen, and a king had given up his crown, his power, his very lifeblood just to keep her breathing. The moon's heart had chosen, and it was love.